Namaste everyone, warm welcome. So I hope let me just Kiran is here. Welcome Kiran and Om is also here in our hangout. Welcome. I'm just waiting for the YouTube to start and then Namaste everyone. Let's start it. So, warm welcome. Pause that. So, let me just Kiran is here. Welcome Kiran and Om is also here in our hangout. Welcome. Kiran, can you mute your microphone? That's okay because I think there's a echo happening. And you can speak when. Thank you. Okay. श्रीमुजी जी की जय, अनंता जी की जय, संगा की जय. Namaste. So, very warm welcome to Kiran and Om who are here. And I have a few friends here today. If they feel like waving out. So Arjun is here. Arjun is part of the Sangha. He just generally doesn't share much. And that's Jyotika is here. So very nice. And Kiran is also here and Om is also here. Very nice to have everybody. So if this is one of the invitations, I think, and when Om was broadcasting also, I think he said something to the same effect. So this doesn't have to be a monologue. I think each of us are completely entitled to speak from our own experience. So it's a completely open invitation to Arjun, to Jyotika, to Om, to Kiran. It doesn't have to be a monologue, neither does it have to be a one-sided thing, so it can be something that we can all explore together, because I feel I always kind of approach this because it's a common subject. It's not a subject that somebody has an expertise in. It's our experience that we're talking about. So I feel in that sense, it's something that we all are going through. It's something that we're all collectively discovering and finding out. So Pekka's here. Namaste. I'll join also soon. Okay. Namaste, Pekka. So happy to have you here. So, I mean, among all of these, actually, I know Arjun has some amazing insights. So does Joe and Om and Kiran and all of us. So, at any point in time, if anybody feels like sharing, just feel free to share. And yeah, I think that would be the only encouragement if there's anything. So Kiran saying, I'm wondering if it's a dialogue and only few of us, why not we see Arjun and Joe also? Yeah. I mean, I've urged Arjun and Joe to be here, but they kind of just prefer to maybe be in the background. So yeah, and I think if they feel like speaking, they will come and speak. So it's actually a more collective. I mean, like at least the spirit with which I've always approached this is it's a collective thing. So there's no. It doesn't feel like there's an authority in this. It doesn't feel like there's an authority or an external hierarchy in this discovery together, in this exploration, because it's more, for me, it's always more like getting into the nature of our own experience and speaking from our own experience, whatever is true to us and whatever is authentic to us. And we can all support each other and point each other and guide each other in that sense. So, yeah, so the invitation is open to all of you, and I think Arjun especially is preferring to be in the background, as Jazzy generally is. So yeah. So what do we speak about today? if you begin to notice the nature of the mind, you'll begin to notice something very interesting actually, which is that all that the mind really does is that it's a sense of commentary. It's a storification mechanism. Right? I remember, I think Father had once shared in satsang, he said artificial intelligence, and I think there's something to that term. I think I quite like that term. It's an artificial intelligence. Artificial, it's not real. The real intelligence does not need support to operate. So it's an artificial intelligence, or it's a storification mechanism which keeps storifying, keeps making a story about everything. It keeps making a story out of everything, even the smallest of things. And it feels real because we've been cultured and conditioned to believe that it is real. But the instant we start inquiring into it and question into it, we suddenly realize that it's not actually so real as it's made out to be. In fact, its structures are very loosely based. The storification mechanism is always playing out. It plays out just one of you 2-3 seconds after any action that happens. After any action that happens, just 2-3 seconds after that, it comes and plays out. And it's generally one of fear. It's generally one of judgment. It's one of many people have said that the ego's number one thing is negativity, but also positivity. Because when you begin to see that as much as negativity cannot hurt you, in the same sense, positivity cannot uplift you. It surely may make you feel a little pleasurable, or it can make you feel a little painful. Either way, if it's positivity, it can make you feel pleasurable. If it's painful, it makes you feel, if it's negativity, it makes you feel painful. But in either sense, both positivity and the negativity of the mind is always a little late, and it comes in and it's a storification mechanism. The thing is, the stories are never accurate. It's just completely made of fear. It's made of judgments. It's made of also sometimes a false sense of things. A sense of I think this. I don't know if I get this word right, but aggrandizement. It's like it exaggerates things. It's a complete exaggeration. So if you notice, actually, the mind is always kind of taking you down, or it's exaggerating you. It's making you feel like you are invincible, you're God, you have the power of God, or it's going to make you feel like, absolutely in the depth of hell and feel like you're going to die the next instant. And these two polarities, these two dualities, that's a polarity, duality. This is the way the mind operates. Now, this insight into the understanding of the mind is very helpful. Pekka's here. Namaste, Pekka.
Namaste.
Namaste. Whenever Pekka comes online, I remember that I need to speak a little slowly. So that he says it's time for his Indian English lesson. So the mind is not accurate. If any of us feel like sharing something, any questions or just gently sharing, all are welcome. So we don't have to do anything to distance ourselves from the mind. Our action to distance ourselves from the mind is just another occurrence that's happening in the mind field itself. We have to just notice and understand and get insights into the process of the mind. And if we are able to do this, it's very beautiful. Because ultimately, you cannot defeat the mind by force. You cannot defeat the mind by fighting. You cannot defeat the mind by all these. There's only one way in which you can defeat the mind. And the way of defeat is the way of understanding. The only way you can defeat the mind is by understanding it. Pekka saying sound is better. Yeah, I think because maybe I'm doing it from another laptop. So now I can concentrate on listening and learning. Also, your beautiful accent. Somas, yeah, namaste, Swam. Happy to have you be with us. If you notice the polarity of the mind, which is that the mind is always either taking you up or taking you down. And that is why I feel sometimes it's even called duality, right? Because it's the polarity, it's the extremes. The mind is always exaggerating something, or the mind is always kind of negative in that sense. It's kind of taking you negative. And there is a middle ground, of course, and the middle ground sometimes uh, you can also say the middle ground is more insight based. There are insights that are born which come from the mind sometimes which help you see the whole thing clearly, and that is very helpful. And then there's of course the practical mind, the part of the mind that we use for practical purposes to communicate. Oh, there are two Pekkas. Hmm. There's a practical aspect of the mind. So actually, if you begin to look at the mind, um, which causes the most suffering, that which causes the most struggle, is the monkey mind, as it were. It's the nature of the monkey mind. The monkey mind is constantly either going high or it's going low. It's exaggerating or it's completely destroying. Or it's totally in this storifying. It's constantly making you feel something or the other. Never okay with just letting things be as they are. Never okay with just being still. Then we come to the insight mind. The insight mind, I feel, is a very helpful tool, which is also just insights that arise from you, which are helpful to kind of understand where you're getting stuck, understand processes, understand things. The insight mind is very nice, very helpful. Ultimately, not true in itself, but helpful. And then we come to the practical mind. The practical mind is just something that's totally function based. For example, what I mean by function based is, so I have this here in front of me, right? And if I don't label this a bottle, there is no way in which we can commune together in some way. I have no other ways to refer to you. I have no other ways to communicate to you what this experience of this is for me. Though ultimately, bottle doesn't mean anything. It doesn't signify an experience. So that way, in that sense, no words can actually speak about a real experience, irrespective of how much we are talking about it. The experience of understanding what we are cannot be communicated. So that way, all words are false. All words are not true. So to hang on to the words is not a very useful thing. But so the practical mind is helpful so that I can label this as a bottle. So when I'm speaking to you, either through a hangout or some other way, so I can refer to this and I can say I have a bottle. So the practical mind cannot cause us harm. That part of the mind which sometimes labels, though the same labeling tendencies, when it's used for practical purpose, very helpful. But when it's not used for practical purposes, it's absolutely so the same. If you notice, actually, the same tendency that the mind calls something a bottle, and the same mind calls something a trouble or a problem. There's a very beautiful contemplation that I had seen and I'd heard, I think, some days back. It was not some day, it was quite a while back, but it was very simple. It was just a one statement, and the one statement was, "Without feeling that anything is a problem, can you ever suffer? Without feeling that something is a problem, can you ever suffer?" You notice that everything that the ego is based upon is based by calling something a problem. Oh, my mind is acting up so much, it's a problem, and there suffering starts. Oh, I have so many feelings, and it's a problem there. My life is not going the way I'd like it to go, and it's a problem. I'm making progress, but I'm not awakened yet, and I'm not enlightened yet. It's a problem. I feel I have really grown and matured, but I'm still not, I'm still not able to speak something, or I'm still not able to be in total peace. It's a problem. At the end of all of this is always some sense of problem, 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 problem. So without your belief that there's something can be a problem, can never exist a problem. Without you calling something a problem, can anything ever be a problem? Anazia, Namaste Aparna. Namaste Aparna.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
No, no. Pekka says there is also a very effective teaching method, problem-based learning. Yes, and it's we don't see this, but our 99% of our problems actually start by calling it a problem, because the ego's fundamental thing is something is wrong, right? Something is a problem. And if we remove this, our culture is based on this, that something is a problem, and somehow we feel that we need a sense of a problem for something to change. But it's not true, because change is happening anyway. Whether you call it a problem or not, something is always changing. Things are always changing constantly. Kiran says, I think Pekka, you need to mute. Yeah, Pekka's muted. And Pekka says actually it is maybe the best method in many cases. Yeah, I mean I can understand that if you're living, it is a best method in if you're working in a company and if you feel something is a problem, then these are again practical problems. There are some practical problems that we can encounter, like if a laptop's not working, then we go fix it. Or if something is not exactly okay, then these are fine. These are more practical based ones. But imagine, for me, the encouragement is constantly always to really see, if I stopped calling anything a problem, how would I live my life? Because we miss this. The ego is always making this set of stories based on that something is a problem. Always. I'm not as awake as I want to be, problem. My thoughts are not stopping, problem. I'm comparing with somebody, it's a problem. I should behave in a nice, good way, but I'm behaving harshly, problem. Or I should behave harshly and I want to be rude to somebody, I'm unable to be rude to somebody, problem. Right? Somehow the ego's signature, the mind signature at the end of anything is when it makes it a problem. Till then, actually, we are fine. We are actually leading an okay life, going through things. Yeah, I mean, it's not like explosive, and it's not like completely like it's not like something out of the movies, and it's not meant to be that way. We're fine. We're leading our lives, and we're okay with it. And then along comes the mind, creates a story, and then puts a signature, and then it's saying problem, signed ego, signed the mind, signed ego, and then trouble starts. So if we are, how would we live our life without the sense that something is a problem? Anything. It can be even the minutest, can be even the greatest. Anything. Bhagavati ji is here. Namaste Bhagavati ji. So happy to have you here. So much love. How would we live our life without the sense that there is no problem? Okay, Aparna says I have a problem. Yeah, you can unmute. We can speak.
Okay, look, I had enrolled for a course about 2 years back, 1.5 years back. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
about 6 months left for it. And in the beginning of this semester, I thought that, the teachers are so good. I left my job and started attending classes over here. I have attended 3 classes exactly, and I really like it. Really, 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 really like it so much that I am thinking that I will not go to Rishikesh for 5 weeks. I had volunteered for 5 weeks, and I have time. I don't have a job. I have chutti and everything, but suddenly I am enjoying learning so much that I am in a dilemma. I no longer want to spend that kind of time over there.
Yeah.
So is it like just kind of getting distracted? Because this is something I have wanted to do all my life, and now finally it comes to me, and it's just beautiful to go to a classroom and learn.
Yeah. I can understand.
But then I have waited for Muji also for at least 3 years. Waited that I wish I could go there for 5 weeks. I wish I could. Now I can.
Yeah. And I feel sometimes this dilemma kind of sets up in our lives. Um, and I feel it's a very helpful contemplation or an inquiry for yourself, saying what do I value the most. Because ultimately it's about what you value. It's not, there's nothing written in stone anywhere. What do I value the most? Do I value my own sense of freedom and completeness, that I feel I can go into this, or do I value this that seems to be coming in front of me right now, which I'm enjoying also? And I feel like this can happen sometimes. We kind of get dilemmas, and it's actually just a more, if we use it effectively, it's a very helpful thing to kind of clarify for ourselves, which is, what do I value right now? What do I value the most? If I can speak for my own case, right? In my own case, for me, it's always been freedom first. For me, it's always been freedom first. It doesn't even mean, it doesn't exactly mean that, going somewhere and being for a long time or any of that, but it means in my heart, it's always very clear that freedom is first. So when that is clear, then somehow the decisions also come from that inner clarity. And I feel these situations are more a clarity, reflecting back to you, saying, okay, what do you really value? What do you really want?
I don't know if this is freedom or not, but in this 1 week that I've been in the classes, I've realized that when I'm in the class, I'm totally in the class. I come back out and then I realize that, okay, I have another life and another story.
Yeah.
But this has been a very first time that I'm totally absorbed in something completely.
Yeah, and I feel it's fine. I mean, if we totally enjoy something, then we can give ourselves to it completely for now, and we enjoy that. However, I want to also just caution and send us sort of share a caution note, which is that anything that we totally enjoy now, after a while it tends to fade away.
True.
Yeah, we can never enjoy something constantly. Even the most amazing things that we love, we really really love. Even if you look at some of the greatest, like some people get tired of something after some time. You can't enjoy it consistently, right?
I know I've
Uh,
never enjoyed studies as such.
yeah. So I would say, yeah, I would say it's more like, I would say, don't decide actually.
I'm not deciding as of now.
Yeah, don't
I'll
decide.
decide in,
See where life
yeah.
takes. Because the same way that this classes suddenly out of nowhere seem to interest you, maybe 1 or 2 weeks later, suddenly you may feel like, no, you know what, I have to go to satsang. I mean, like, I have to go be with Muchi, and there's no two ways about it. And life will unfold, and life will show you the way, because I feel ultimately, completely, life is wise. There is a wisdom of life, which is completely accurate. And so what I mean by that is, if you're meant to be there in Rishikesh with Muji, nothing can stop that. And if you're not meant to be there, then nothing
No, no,
can.
there's no question about being there or not being there. The question is only 5 weeks or 2 weeks.
Okay, all right,
There's no question about not going.
sure, sure. So okay, got it. So it's about whether I need to be there for 5 weeks, or I need to be there for 2 weeks. Yeah, and I would say that I think it's very nice. And I feel like if you can use this as an opportunity to kind of clarify inside of you, even if you don't know, that's fine. Just let the question stay there, and the clarity will arise inside you. Because I'm very confident of the fact that the clarity arises inside, and also that these are opportunity. Ultimately, these are happening for us. It's like a pointer. It's a compass. It's a radar pointing to, like, okay, what do I really want now? So you're saying you'll definitely be there for 2 weeks, and you're really confused whether it's 2 weeks or 5 weeks. And I would say that just let the question stay there, let the clarity arise in your heart. And I feel like without decision, life will take you, and life is extremely wise. Life will show you the exact course that is. And remember this: life always takes a decision from the collective standpoint of complete totality. What I mean by that, life always takes a decision which is in the highest interest for everybody concerned,
Mm.
right? And I feel that this is very beautiful, because for me in my life, I've seen that sometimes I may want something to happen, and I really want it to happen, but the exact opposite happens, and I feel like the mind can make a story about this, but life is totally wise, because what life has done has taken many factors into consideration, all the factors, considering even your own freedom, considering your own inner clarity, considering where you need to be, what you need to do, and all the other beings that can come. Life will take that decision for you, and trust in that.
I do.
So that will be taken for you.
Okay.
Bhagavati ji says this kind of dilemma often arises when we draw close to retreat. Yes, yes, many times actually. It can be a sign of resistance also, but once we see it, the battle is won. Yes, yes. This happens actually many
So,
times. Yeah, sometimes a new relationship springs up just before retreats. Uh, like what I mean by that is actually sometimes it can happen like this when the mind senses that your freedom is just right around the corner, complete freedom. At that point, the greatest resistance is also sent. Somehow it's sent, and the resistance can be. It's like I was reflecting this. We need to kind of change our definitions of what the devil is. The devil is no longer two horns and red and with a pitchfork, and the devil is not so gross anymore. No, the devil is not like the devil is much more subtle. The devil is much more. It's really evolved. The mind and the ways of the. I mean, devil is a strong word, but I'm just saying because we always feel that what is evil or the devil is like this costume, horn-based, red kind of. And I feel that that is changing completely. The devil is much more subtler. So when the mind can sense that your complete freedom is around the corner, then sometimes the mind gives these things, a new relationship, something you've always wanted comes up suddenly, or just few days somebody has an accident in your family, or you yourself break your leg or hand sometimes. All of these things, I've seen so many things happen like this. Uh, but ultimately, I know that life is wise. So I have complete trust in the fact that life is guiding us accurately, and these are all opportunities for us to clarify inside our own heart what is ultimately valued for us, what do we want at any cost. Because if we want freedom, then that will happen for us. If we want something else, then there will be a delay, there will be some shift, there will be some delay. So
Maybe this is just an initial euphoria because like I told you, I just started going to classes this week. Till
yeah,
about last week, I was very clear that I'm going to Rishikesh for 5 weeks. And
yes,
now that
exactly.
I've attended the classes, I'm not very sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I say sometimes just staying with it helps clarify, because like you say, it's initial euphoria. Sometimes you become so happy because you haven't had this experience in a long time. Suddenly
Hmm.
it's so joyful, and then you
Hmm.
say, okay, now do I really go? Do I really not go? But I would say drop all concerns of decision making, and drop all concerns that you can take a wrong decision, and drop any fears that okay, that I can do something. Just completely drop any of those, and just trust in the clarity that life will point to you accurately. And that pointing may just be a complete deep inner clarity that I have to go for 5 weeks, irrespective of anything happens. Or it may just be a life situation that unfolds in a certain way at a certain time. So it can be any of this. So it's good that we are seeing through this. You yourself are saying initial euphoria, and so these things are very helpful, because don't take a decision in haste, and that you're not doing. So that's completely fine. So let it stay out, and the wisdom of life will take care of the decision. So let's see what's happening on the chat. Aradhna says hi Ram. Oh, hi Aradhna. So happy to have you here. Bhagavati ji says Muji is the best classroom, a whole university he is. Yes, that's true. Yes, absolutely. There's so much
True.
to, yeah, that's true. That's completely true, because there's so much to learn every instant being around him, and that's why I think you see the wisdom in being around that space and around that space of satsang and freedom for 5 weeks. So there is a Soham says it also happens after you decide to take monastic vows. Yeah. The closer it gets, the more resistance comes, yes. Or
Wow.
when you get engaged. Lol. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel all these things happen. And for me, I feel they're absolutely accurate in the sense that they point to your own inner, ultimately your own inner clarity. And you know what? You don't have to lie about your inner clarity to anybody. You don't even have to fake it to anybody. You know inside your heart what you really truly value. And your inner clarity is for you. And life is giving these reflections for you to get clarified of. Um, so completely. And I feel like if it was my own decision, I would, like I said, freedom above all else. And it would mean that of course I would go and be there with Mujiji for as long as I can. That would definitely be. And at the same time, like I feel like ultimately that you will be guided. I have trust completely in that, in the fact that you're being guided, and also just keep this one thing that ultimately things will pass off. Any euphoria will pass, all enjoyment passes off, because if you're enjoying studies or you're enjoying movies or everything, that doesn't last, it passes off. But when you understand what you truly are, and you rest in that understanding, and you give it completely all that you have, that understanding will not pass. I think it's the only thing in our shared experience, in our shared collective understanding. That's the only thing that doesn't pass. Everything else passes. We used to enjoy something else 3 years back so much, and now when we look at it, we feel like I just don't like it anymore. Something we enjoyed so much 3 years back, now when we look at it, we feel like, oh gosh, I just can't stand it. So this also happens. So we must understand that everything changes, but the commitment to our freedom and the drive towards being free, the drive towards our own joy, our own peace, to give it all that we have, that will bear unending results. That will bear completely unending results. So it's a great return on investment, actually. I feel freedom and satsang is the best return on investment, because when you give it your 100%, the gains that you get are, you cannot measure. They go way beyond what we can measure phenomenally. So Pekka shares, I remember I went to my first satsang with Muji. Very powerful thought came, what am I doing here? I felt I have to escape, but how happy I did. Yes, that can happen. Yes, because like I said, the mind senses that its time is up. The mind senses that its time is up, and when freedom is just around the corner, when it feels like freedom is just around the corner, sometimes these things can come up.
Yeah, because as long as I was transcribing, I have been longing for this time to come, for Mujiji to come here. And now that he's here, now suddenly I find something else more interesting.
Yes, and notice that your interest will always keep changing. Our interests keep changing. Sometimes we like this, sometimes we don't like that. Um, but our dedication, our commitment
It's
to
not really
freedom.
an interest. I think it's just a chance because this is the first time in 18 years that I am not working. I have time to do what I want to do, to attend classes, to go for satsang.
Yeah,
So maybe it's just that it's again initial euphoria. I want to make the most of this time.
yeah, yeah.
I go to class every day, even if it is raining, even if yesterday it was 2 days, it's been really bad weather. I still go to the class.
Yeah. So enjoy it for now. For now, it's here, and enjoy it all the way till. I mean, there's still a lot of time for satsang. There's still
Yep.
almost like a month, right? So enjoy it completely, and who knows, halfway through you'll feel like, what, I have had my fun. I've totally enjoyed, and it's been so much, and now I want to be with you. So
Let's
now
see.
that it's feeling so enjoyable for you, enjoy it completely right now. Nobody's saying don't enjoy it right now, actually. And the fact is, you'll see that if you actually truly enjoy it right now completely, then no remains. There will be nothing remaining after you. You want to want it later.
Yes.
So enjoy it for now. I feel it's very nice. If you feel uh, pulled towards something, and if you feel a sense of joy doing something, do it completely. And there's still a lot of time, and I feel halfway through you'll realize that I enjoyed this. Now I feel like I need to go with Mujiji, be with him for as long as I can. So who knows, these things will change after some time, but I feel for now, if it's enjoying it now, right now, nobody's, it's beautiful that you're enjoying it right now, completely enjoy it right now. So um, Aru says, what we give up, Aradhna says, I call her Aru, very sweet. What we give our primal powers of attention and belief to gets energized and grows. We create life minute to minute. Yes, that's true. What we give our powers of attention and belief to, it seems to magnify for us, and that's why it feels like, in some sense, ultimately we feel like we're battling this life out, and there is only us, right, in some way, and there's some truth to it, because what we needs to see through shows up. Ultimately, we are only going through all of these issues, so that's true. What we give our primal powers of attention and belief to gets energized, and it feels real to us. All of these things feel very real to us, but ultimately it's not. All of this is not, because ultimately only the real is real, and it is inside the real and in the real that all of this is really happening. So how much ever the false tries to assert itself or really be strong unto itself, It cannot be, because ultimately just the real is real. The what we truly are, our true nature, is the one thing that is completely true, and it's the most simplest thing. It's the most simplest thing. And we have to go through this life sometimes. We have to go through these issues of life to kind of keep asserting and coming back to what we really are. And I feel it's very helpful. I'm never against any of that, because there is a certain growth that comes inside of us. You know, uh, yeah. So we must know in our heart that life is ultimately taken care, and it doesn't matter whether we are spiritual, we are not spiritual, whether we are religious, we are non-religious. Ultimately, life is always taken care, and it's not just a statement. It's actually a fact. It's not a belief, it's not a positive thing, it's a fact, because life is reflecting. Ultimately, life is totally kind, life is completely, you know. Okay, Carl Jung. So Pekka says Carl Jung escaped Ramana Maharshi. I don't know about that. I don't know. Psychologist. Carl Jung is a psychologist. Is it true that he escaped being with Ramana Maharshi? I don't know. I don't know. Kiran says, and Carl didn't come back. Slash wake up question mark. So he has a question. I actually have no clue about this. So so
Carl Jung was a psychologist.
yes, I know that, but I don't know the fact that he escaped.
Even I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So Aru says, yes, Ramji, so true. Thank you, Aru. Pekka says, I don't know what else happened. Kiran says, okay, and Pekka says, have to Google. Yes, yes, that's okay. And sometimes what happens is, and I'm not kind of referring to this. I'm not referring to this, but sometimes I feel like we look back at the past and we kind of try to say, okay, this person happened, this did not happen, and everything. But sometimes in the looking of the past, what we kind of forget is that the past are always just um, the past is actually there to kind of inform us and for us to learn. What I mean by that is, for right now, Ramana is here. Right now, even Carl Jung is here. It's all playing out right now. The past is just history to kind of inform us, to kind of show us the lessons that other beings have learned. It's very helpful as a understanding process, but it's not very helpful to kind of sometimes see factually what happened or not, what did not happen, because we don't know factually what happened or did not happen. But learnings, we can take all our lessons and learning from the past, and that's very helpful for us. Sapana said Ramana would have turned all his theories and concepts about the mind upside down. Yes. Yeah, very nice.
Hi.
Hi.
So, just hearing to Aparna's question, and I thought I'll share something. And so I was actually waiting to hear the problem, which I didn't hear yet. And because I remember in the beginning, even Ram was sharing like what will happen if you don't refer anything as a problem and look at life as it unfolds. And if you look at it, whatever you shared, the way I see it, a few weeks back, there was some clarity about you being with Muji for 5 weeks. And now, after joining the class, and you are enjoying the class, and there is some. So, right now, you don't have that clarity whether you need to be there for 5 weeks or whether it should be for 2 weeks. So, the way I see it is, I don't see there is any role which we have to play in having the clarity or bringing the clarity or making the clarity go. It's more like it's just life's game. The way it just plays out, like clarity comes when it needs to and it goes when it needs to. And as long as we don't say like this is a problem, there is like when clarity is there, everything is fine. When clarity is not there, then I have to make it happen, or I'm confused, or this is not, I'm not able to enjoy it. Until unless we look it as a problem, till then it just comes and goes. So I remember like the beautiful way how Adyashanti or even Baron Katie says this, that the best way how you know like what you need in your life is when it happens.
True.
So the best way whether you need to, whether you will know whether you need to be there for 2 weeks or 5 weeks is maybe in April you will know it. So in April you know whether you need to be there for 2 weeks or 5 weeks. So yeah, I just want to share that.
Okay. So it's kind of open. Anybody feels like sharing anything. So you want to share something? Yeah. Aparna says he was studying the mind, Carl Jung, and Ramana said transcend the mind itself. Yes. So Soham says the perfect quote arrived on cue. Okay. Neither recklessness or caution are required to any life situation. Be completely neutral and follow your heart in the moment. Ananta, heart emoticon. Here's the words from Father. So from Ananta.
Could you please repeat that?
Yes. So the words are neither recklessness or caution are required to any life situation. Be completely neutral and follow your heart in the moment.
Yeah, so that is why I haven't said anything about it as yet. Haven't written to them. I'm still on roll.
Very nice, yeah. Yeah, and I think it's perfect, like, I think it's very nice. So Aru says, thank you, Arjun. And Aru says, Soham, thank you. Very nice. I feel in many ways we're all just coming together and exploring our own. It's there's something very universal about what happens in these broadcasts or in satsang or anywhere actually, and that I feel that at the very least it reminds us uh, that there is something completely universal here, and it's very beautiful. I remember this one joke actually that one colleague or I used to attend retreats before several times. I used to attend several retreats, not like satsang kind of retreats, but NLP, those kind of retreats. So I remember this one friend, I think Kiran may remember, one common friend or someone. He came to a retreat and he said something that ultimately what I take back the most from every retreat is when I come to retreat, I realize that that which I thought was my problem is not just my problem, it's everybody's problem. Everybody's struggling with the same stuff. I thought I was struggling with it, but everybody's going through the same stuff. And so there's something very true to that. It's there's another Khalil Gibran, I think Khalil Gibran quote. And he said, if we all sat in front of each other and shared our problems and shared our guilt, we will all make fun of each other for the lack of originality.
Okay.
If we all sit together and share our problems or share that which makes us guilty, we will all make fun of each other for the lack of originality, because the same.
All your problems are plagiarized.
Yeah.
Copied.
And that's why I like what Father says in satsang. Sometimes Ananta says, he says that there are only 3-4 basic problems that humanity has always suffered from, and he says you can categorize them. It's a very beautiful way he categorizes. There's just 3-4 problems, and all of humanity suffered from these same set of problems. Somehow the mind makes it feel that there are many, because it's the nature of the mind. It takes a few things and puts them into different combinations, and before you know, the same things are jumbled up in like 8 different ways, but it ultimately is the same thing. So the one with the clear mind can see, okay, this is just the same stuff, but the one who's a little confused, then the same thing feels like as though it's a billion things, but actually it's not. It's very simple in some sense. Soham says, sorry, a straight cut and paste. No, I think it's perfect. It's very nice that we can all share like this together, and we can all put our inputs. And I feel we are not really talking to just one person with their problems. I feel that's not what's happening here. We're not talking to one person with their problems. We're actually collectively looking at the problems and collectively addressing them. Just the problems the idea of a problem itself. The problem itself, not so much a person who has a problem, but the problem itself. And that is very, very beautiful. I remember Krishnamurti. I think he had a line. Somebody came up to him. I think Arjun also keeps referring to this. Somebody came up to him and said that I want to end one fear in my life. And Krishnamurti looked at him and said, I'm not interested in the ending of one fear for you. I'm interested in the ending of fear itself. Can we eradicate fear itself? Can we end all fear itself? And I feel that that's what happens. That's what we are ultimately talking about: the ending of fear, the ending of suffering, the ending of conflict, the ending of struggle. And there is a sense of when you want to end something truly, you need to see through it right to the depth of it. Right? And the way we see through it right to the depth of it is by understanding it. Like I said, I think initially we said is that you can't defeat the mind by fighting it. You can't defeat the mind by waging a war against it. You can't defeat the mind by pushing it away, but you can ultimately defeat the mind by going to the root of it, by understanding it, by spending time seeing these things play out, not repressing them, not suppressing them, letting all things be as they are. So we need to, in some ways, we need to profoundly realize that we are kind of helpless with these tendencies. Till the time we feel that we can do something about these tendencies, we can fight something, we can fight a war, or we can do something, till that time it's a sense of struggle. But when we admit in our hearts, that there's not much I can do about this, that I can't really do anything about this, we totally admit in our hearts, then there's a clarity that opens up, there is a kind of humility that kind of comes into us, and then there is a beautiful way. In fact, in all the 12-step groups, the first step in the 12-step group is always one of surrender. It's one of acknowledging that I can't do this. I need a higher power to do this. I can't lead my life. I need a higher power to lead this life. I can't solve a certain problem. I need a higher power to. And just the very acknowledging, and all of us are beaten down in life till the time we acknowledge this in our hearts. So either we truly acknowledge in our hearts right now, or then life will beat us to it. Life will beat us up, and then we finally have to say, okay, I can't do this. So it's just coming to the understanding that I can't do this. And then kind of very easily, naturally, just these whatever these tendencies are, somehow we start seeing a process inside of ourselves that kind of deals with all of this stuff. And ultimately none of the words are true. So what I would say is, don't go by anybody's words in some way. It's very helpful to see what the words are evoking inside of you and trust that. Because if we go by the fact that the words itself are true, then we will feel that the words are true, but ultimately the words are being shared as just a pointer. So take the words and see what they're pointing to inside of you, and in that what it's unraveling inside of you, to stay with it, to be with it. Like Mujiji often says, he says it's not like the mind doesn't want to be awake. It's not that the mind doesn't want to be put out of its suffering, out of its misery. The mind wants it, but the mind wants to be guided by a skillful master, not by a rookie. What does that mean? It means that we must learn to be totally humble and acknowledge that we can't do this. As a person, as an idea that I'm a separate person, that I can't do anything about life. And kind of in that acknowledgement and that admitting, then we let a higher power come take over us, and the higher power knows how to do what needs to be done. And all of this ultimately does not mean that you're not free. You keep sharing that all of this is just a process from freedom to freedom itself. Freedom to deeper freedom. Every being, no matter where they are, what they are, it doesn't mean that they're not free. This entire process is from freedom to deeper freedom, because if we do not feel in our hearts that there is complete openness and complete lack of resistance or lack of suffering, then the joy of life cannot be totally experienced. So it's a freedom to freedom. And if you look at it, if you look at all our spiritual progress and all our spirituality from this angle, that we're doing this from freedom to freedom, then it's much more nicer, no? It's much more easier. All of this is happening from freedom to deeper freedom. Make space for the words that resonate in your heart. It could be from anybody. It could be by the master, it could be by a friend, it could be by your mother, it could be by, it could just be the barking of a dog also sometimes. You know, you don't know, sometimes you feel so much joy listening to a dog bark, or sometimes something else. But just make space for what resonates in your heart. Because when you make space for what resonates in your heart, then it kind of takes over completely. Coming to the end, we have a last few minutes left. Anybody feels like sharing anything? I like these two lines from Brian Katie, and I think Kiran had shared this with me a long time back. It was 2-3 years back. And the lines are: life is wise, even when it seems otherwise. Life is wise, even when it seems otherwise. And reality is kind, unlike the stories of the mind. They're very beautiful. No? Reality is kind, unlike the stories of the mind. So it is only our stories about anything that are ultimately causing us harm. And they're causing us harm because they're not true. Pekka says, thank you so much, still mute on. If you feel like if you feel like sharing, you can of course share at any point. Kiran says, those lines were inspired by Katie in the moment and somehow came to me as I played with What Is. So she didn't exactly say that. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. That is nice. Oh, okay, I didn't know. I somehow thought it was something Katie herself said. This is very nice. I have a feeling I'm going to be using a lot more of that actually. So copyright Kiran Gulrajani. It's a very beautiful message, no? It's a very beautiful message. I feel in these two lines somehow, ultimately, what really needs to be taken into the very core of our beings is in these two lines. Bhagavati ji says, "Thank you, Ram. Thank you so much, Bhagavati ji." Kiran says, "She said reality is kinder than the stories we make about it." Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for being part of this. Um, and thank you so much to Kiran and Pekka for being on the Hangout and for all of them viewing. Kiran says, "Thanks, Ram. Nice that I caught this." Yes. Nice that I caught this broadcast. Yes. Very happy to have you here. Very happy to have you. Remember, just always remember that no matter where you are at, no matter what's happening, no matter anything that you feel, any story that feels alive, any of this that is happening to you, remember at the very core of it, all is okay. So feel free to let go and enjoy. Even that one moment of joy is will burn through everything else. And just remember that the biggest trick of the mind is to say that something is a problem. And without that belief that something is a problem, there cannot be any suffering. And experiment with this. The biggest trick of the mind is this, that something is a problem. And it doesn't just apply to you, it applies to everything in existence actually. But we can start with ourselves and then take it to all of existence. Can say this is one sure way to meet you. Yes, and me too. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. May the wisdom and clarity of Mujiji bless our path with the love and kindness of Anantaji. Teach us to embrace all of humanity. And may the unity, openness, and the brotherhood of the Sangha inspire all beings to live a life in harmony. Mujiji ki jai, Anantaji ki jai, Sangha ki jai. You guys want to say something? Very happy with the fact that we got Arjun on broadcast. Very hard to get Arjun on broadcast otherwise. So we somehow retained him and made sure that we got Arjun on broadcast. So the Sangha is so beautiful because collectively we learn from each other, we support each other, and we guide each other, all out of our own love for the truth and love for what is real. So from that place, always guiding and always supporting in our own ways, in our own capacity, at our own in our own expression. Bhagavati ji says, Jai Jai Jai. I'm so happy to have you, and so happy that you shared your words of wisdom, Bhagavati ji. We're so grateful and so happy to have you here. Oh, Aru said something, Amish. She said, life is wise even when it seems otherwise. Life is kind, unlike the stories of the mind. By Katie, inspired words by Kiran. Very nice, Ram. Thank you. Thank you, Aru. Thank you for your words of wisdom as well. Thank you for everyone to coming and participating and being part of this. Big hugs and big kisses. Thank you. See you. Enjoy yourself even when you're not enjoying yourself. Bye.